Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Jonathan Voico's here.
Hello.
Chris Carr is here.
Hey, guys.
But most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how the show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a bunch of predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Why don't you participate in the show? If you got a thought, theory, comment, observation, question, go ahead and use our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip and send it on in. And as long as we deem your comment or question appropriate to be addressed on the show, we'll address it in the second part of the show. And the good news is this: if you're watching the show later on, or maybe you're listening to this show on our podcast feed, by the way, go and find our podcast on Apple or Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. You can also send in questions, because this tip link is good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So send it on in, and we'll just get around to it on the next episode. All right, guys, we've got a lot of stuff that we got to talk about here today. And we're going to start off by me kind of covering a bunch of really interesting things that we don't have time to make main topics here today. So I just want to touch on a couple of quick things. First of all, the Emmys just happened. Of course, Shogun destroyed the previous record. The most Oscar wins in a single season was 13. It won 18, including Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Drama, like all that kind of stuff. Killed it. But it wasn't just Shogun that had a good night. The Emmys themselves had a good night. The ratings for the Emmys went up 60%, being the highest rated show in over 3 years. Now, this can be attributed to things like The Bear had a lot of nominations. It's a very popular show. Hacks is a very popular show. Shogun was a very popular show. And they got a couple of beloved guys in Eugene and his son Levy to host the show. So the ratings went up massively over the last one. Of course, it was a weird one, the last one, because it was kind of mid-year due to the writer's strike, but still huge improvement for them. So good on them. Next, we've got a basic release window update from HBO about when that Harry Potter series is coming. Now, they said they put out a casting call a little while ago saying they're looking for people kids between the ages of, who will be between the ages of 9 and 11 come spring of 2025. So a lot of people thought that meant that's when they were going to start production. But an HBO executives clarified, no, that's not when it starts production, because some people started to theorize. I started to wonder, too, if we might be getting this Harry Potter show near the end of 2025. But they're now saying that the Harry Potter series will start season 1 broadcasting somewhere near the end of 2026 and the beginning of 2027. Kind of makes sense, because I think they probably want to finish shooting all of season 1 and maybe even get started on season 2 before the first season comes out, because they're dedicated to releasing one season a year. So they probably want to get ahead of themselves. All right. Next thing, Megalopolis. Tickets are on sale. And according to reports, they have sold 239 tickets.
Megaflopolis.
Oh.
They got to add an F there.
Optimistically, they are saying Megalopolis might be looking at a $3 million opening weekend,
Okay.
which, hey, would be better than Killer's Game.
Fair.
I mean, of course, significantly more expensive than Killer's Game. But, you know, we've been saying from day one, listen, it's Francis Ford Coppola. I worship the guy. I'm definitely going to watch this. Although I've been saying, how long I've been saying this? No one's going to go see this movie. And they saying it has a less, what do they call it? Less awareness. 18% audience awareness, which is the same as a little indie horror film coming out on the same weekend called Bagman that I've never heard of. But that's how much awareness Megalopolis has. So there's that. Also, a new trailer for the Anna Kendrick starring in and directing Woman of the Hour, based on a true story of a young actress I believe it was in the 70s, went on the dating game, and she ended up picking this guy who was a serial killer. Convicted of 8 murders, suspected in up to 130 murders that they weren't able to prove. And the trailer came out. It's freaky as hell. Chrissy, I heard you say you saw
Yeah.
the trailer.
It is a great trailer, and it is chilling, and it handles the moment you know you do not want to be with someone in a bar anymore so perfectly. Like, it was just a full, oh no, it's so icky and horrible, and I'm so excited to watch it.
It's a really good looking trailer. And listen, I low key, who is not in love with Anna Kendrick?
She's the best.
She's the best.
I love her. She's
And so,
adorable and talented.
I love that she's also directing this. This looks like a solid directorial debut. So the first trailer for Woman of the Hour, bad title for the movie, but Woman of the Hour is out. Go and check it out. I think you're really going to like it because the trailer's really good. All right, last little note here. Speaking of new trailers, Josh Brolin, Peter Dinklage. No, it is not a remake of Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, but Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage play twin brothers in a new movie called Brothers. We talked about this a couple of months ago from the director of Palm Springs. And Marissa Tomei is in it. Glenn Close is in it. It's like a comedy heist movie looking thing. The first 20 to 30 seconds of the trailer, I'm like, this looks boring. By the end of the trailer, I was really kind of on board. I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to see this. Dinklage is Dinklage. Josh Brolin looks really funny in it. I love Marissa Tomei. You can put her in anything. I'll watch it. And so this trailer is now out for Brothers. I believe it's an Amazon film, so it's going to be on streaming. But go and check it out. It looks really good. So the new trailer for Brothers is out. And that is all the little side notes that we had for today. With that down, guys, let's get into our main topics here today, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. You know, Wicked is coming out near the end of the year. It's getting closer. And I've been telling everybody, you're sleeping on this movie. You are sleeping on this movie. They showed the previews. They showed previews for it a couple of times at 2 CinemaCons in a row now. Both times it blew us away. It looks like it's going to be great. I think it's going to be incredibly successful. That all being said, a new little piece of news came out, though, because it clearly stars Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, both Grammy winners, both award-nominated actresses. And according to my wife, who has seen Wicked on the stage show several times, the two leads. However, they're not going to submit them as two leads in the award season, as the Hollywood Reporter is now reporting that the studios decided that they are going to submit Cynthia Erivo, who's playing Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, as lead actress, and Ariana Grande as supporting actress. I get it. They don't want the two. Number one, the studio really, I talked to somebody, the studio does believe they're both high potential to get nominated for the Oscars. Okay. I haven't seen the movie. I can't verify that, but that's what they say. And I get it. You don't want your two leads competing against each other. But I asked my wife, and then I talked to somebody else online because I've never seen the Wicked stage show. But I talked to somebody else online today who I know had seen it. And I said, hey, just out of curiosity, I didn't bring up this news story. I said, who's the lead character in Wicked? And they said, oh, they're both the lead characters. They're both the lead characters. This brings up again a little thing that's come to be known as category fraud. We've been talking about it a bunch lately because of The Bear being put in the best comedy categories, even though it is not at all a comedy. One of the actresses from Saturday Night Live put out a tweet during the Emmys when The Bear was on stage. Every time they mention The Bear in the comedy category, I get an ulcer. It made people, it's category fraud. I get it. There needs to be some kind of governing body that maybe the Oscars themselves need to set up, because the Oscars, the Academy of Motion Pictures Art and Sciences, has an actors branch. They need to set up a committee in the actors branch that they determine whether a performance should be in a lead category or supporting category, because it's meaningless now. Anthony Hopkins, and there's a long string of this. Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor for Silence of the Lambs. Movie was 2 hours long. How much screen time do you think the best lead actor had in his movie? 2-hour movie.
I'm going to go 6 minutes.
20 minutes.
Well, it was more than that. It was less than that. 16 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
16 minutes. clearly should have been a supporting character, right? I mean, clearly, Brad Pitt, that, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the story of Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio's character. They had a whole bunch of stuff together. The movie followed both of them individually.
Yeah.
They were both leads. But they didn't want to have Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt up against each other. So they put Brad Pitt in the best supporting category. And I loved Brad Pitt in that movie. But it ended up bumping out somebody else who legitimately had a best supporting character. Go back to the Green Book. Great movie, by the way, with Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali. Viggo and Mahershala were both the lead. They were two leads. They both should have been submitted for lead. But they didn't want to have them competing against each other. They put Mahershala Ali in the best supporting category, even though he was every bit of the lead of that movie as Viggo Mortensen. And he won best supporting actor. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I'm just saying he shouldn't have been in that category. Christian Bale for The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg. Who's on the poster? Equal. Mark Wahlberg, Christian Bale. Equal screen time, equal amount of dialogue, all that kind of stuff. But they put Christian Bale in the best supporting because they figured he had a better chance. Because who's the star again of King's Speech? And
Colin Firth?
Colin Firth.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that year Colin Firth was going to win. Right? That was, amongst the industry, it was a foregone conclusion that Colin Firth was going to win Best Actor. So what do? Well, let's put Christian Bale then in Best Supporting Actor. It is category fraud. It's fraud. And now look, I haven't seen the Wicked movie yet. And maybe the director, same guy who directed, by the way, Crazy Rich Asians, and he's great. Maybe his iteration legitimately has Elphaba as the lead character, and maybe Galinda, played by Ariana Grande, is going to have a lesser role, and maybe this is all legitimate. But if it is going by the stage play, the people I have talked to have seen is saying, no, Wicked is about the two of them. It's about both. It's equal. And Chris, as a member of SAG, I'm sure you guys have probably, in your inner circles, had discussions about this over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, and clearly we can't just leave it up to the studio, because it's like this. It's like if Joaquin Phoenix last year, like if some movie studio said, well, Joaquin's going to win this year. I know, let's submit our guy for best screenplay. Because he can't win. So, I mean, to me, it's just ridiculous they do that. What kinds of conversations have you heard in the actor circles about stuff like that? And how do you feel about, like, Ariana Grande being bumped down to supporting and Erivo being in the lead, which she should be, but how do you see this?
It's so odd. It's very odd because, I mean, if you just look to the original stage play in 2004, both actresses were up for Best Actress in a musical.
Tonys.
Yes.
Yep.
And it went to Idina Menzel, but Kristen Chenoweth was also nominated for her role as Galinda. It's a two-hander. I've seen the show so many times, and it's about the two of them. To your point, they could be writing this a little bit so that, we have Elphaba elevated and we have our Galinda character taking more of a supporting part. I don't see that happening because that is the whole root of this story, is these two people who become unlikely best friends and support each other. From a actor's perspective, I've been on the nominating committee before, right? I've been on the SAG nominating committee, and you do go through this list of every film that has come out that year and how the studio has poised these people to be categorized. So it's already set in stone before the nominations even come out. It is completely done by the studios. I also always like to remind people that the Oscars initially, I think they're amazing. It is the highest, award an actor can get. But its original intention was to be a union busting event. It was meant to pacify actors so that they wouldn't strike. So it is something that the studios have always controlled. So the categorization always has come down to the studios. In these moments, though, of having somebody who has, a 16-minute role or a 2 hours of them solidly on screen with the other lead and them still being a supporting actor, it does seem so arbitrary and so odd. And it always does feel like it is a studio's attempt to try to get the most accolades they can. And why wouldn't you? It's a great selling feature in your film to say that something collected, 13 Oscars or has all these nominations.
Sure, yeah.
It helps people to tune in, because one of the big things we see too during awards season is once those nominations come in, a lot of people, a lot of normies who wouldn't have gone into those kind of like art house bubbles finally see a whole bunch of these odd movies, and it helps get more eyes on them. So I completely understand why the studios do it. It is bullshit though.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Tony, like you brought up the Tonys with Wicked and how you had Idina Menzel and who played
Kristen
Chenoweth were put. I believe the Tonys make the determination as to what is a lead. So I think because I think the production wanted one in lead and one in supporting, but the Tony said, no, they're both leads. So both. I really feel like the Oscars should do that as well. Like,
I think they should. I think they should have a standard. I think that helps a lot. And, you know, all it comes down to, too, is if you have two incredible actresses in something, I mean, you can have them go against each other, but doesn't it elevate the award there? If it is truly like the best leads, the best supportings in the categories that make sense to them, I feel like that only elevates your win and makes it go, yeah, I actually was the best performer in this category this year. And my peers voted for it in a very fair and balanced kind of way.
And doesn't it devalue the best supporting actor category a bit if you're using it as an also and like, oh, we can't win here, so let's move them over here to win an award. Like, I feel like that devalues what it should be because, listen, supporting performances in movies are very unique from lead performances in movies. And without great supporting performances, movies cannot live up to their potential. And I really feel that the people who play those roles, who play those supporting roles, which are unique from lead roles, they need to be honored. And I feel like when you take somebody who is clearly a lead and put them in there, I think it's a disrespect to the people who are performing those supporting roles. But again, well, and again, once I see Wicked, maybe we'll find out they actually did lower Ariana Grande's character, right? And that'll be cool.
What if Erivo leaves the lasting impression on you after you watch it?
But that just means she has a better performance. That doesn't mean she's more the lead than the other.
But even if they had the same screen time, maybe she did outshine Ariana.
But that just means you're better. That doesn't, like, we're talking about how you get the best performance. We're saying they were both lead performances. Maybe one was better than the other, but they're both lead characters. They're not neither one of them is a supporting character. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The studio seems to believe that they both have awards potential and they're getting ahead of the game. They're preemptively saying one's going to be lead and one's going to be supporting. To me, that's just stealing a best supporting actress spot away from another deserving performer. Anyway, whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, with all the talk of a potential new Rey movie, which I have never thought would actually happen, I still don't think it's going to happen, but maybe it will, who knows? And all the talks about all the canceled things and how bad the Acolyte is and whatever, you'd be forgiven if you forgot that there is another Star Wars movie supposedly in the works, which is Donald Glover's Star Wars Lando movie. That was going to be a series. And then you guys remember last year, they made the announcement that they've transitioned it. Now they want to make it a movie. Donald Glover is writing it with his brother. They've won many awards together as writers. So that apparently is still on the go. And Donald Glover just recently talked about this in talking about Lando. And when kind of asked what he wants to do with it, he made the statement that I want to bring fun back to Star Wars. He said this comes to us from the folks over at Variety. He wrote the following. Donald Glover is set to return as Star Wars fan favorite Lando Calrissian in a movie he's developing for Disney and Lucasfilm alongside his brother and frequent collaborator, Stephen Glover. And all Donald Glover wants to do is to bring fun back to the Star Wars franchise. I just want it to be fun, he recently told the Wall Street Journal during a video interview. As a Star Wars fan myself, I think it's important that there needs to be fun being had. He goes on to say, Donald Glover said that while he obviously loves the Star Wars franchise, it can be super serious sometimes, and it's way too serious. Everything that has to do with the Skywalkers is like so serious. With Lando, I think the best part about him is that he's a scoundrel. And I feel like people can relate to that. And he's probably like, man, this war is whack. I need money, which I feel everyone can relate to. I want to bring fun to Star Wars. I just want it to be fun. All right. I have a couple of thoughts about things he's saying. First of all, I think Star Wars in and of itself, in its nature and in its DNA, should be so big and so vast. Star Wars should never be just one thing, right? Like, I believe there is a place for, you know, a great space fun adventure. I also believe there is space for like Andor, which is a more heavy adult kind of oriented thing. I believe there's a room for a lot of that. But one of the things that Donald Glover said that rings true for me is that, you know, when I do go back to the original Star Wars films, like New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi, big stakes, big drama, but big fun, right? There was always the fun, some wackiness, some silliness, all that kind of stuff, but it was all perfectly balanced, right? In the midst of trying to break a princess out of a death sentence prison cell, he's like, we're good here. How are you? You know, they have all this stuff. It's fun. And when you go back to something like The Acolyte, which was terrible, and this wasn't its biggest sin, but there was no fun. I mean, I thought, listen, I hated The Acolyte. Everybody knows that, but I'll give it its flowers. The action was really good. When they had action sequences, it was great. But even in the great action sequence, it never had a sense of fun. Obi-Wan never had a sense of fun to it. Book of Boba Fett never had a sense of fun to it, or any other quality thing.
I mean, that Vespa gang was having fun.
Oh God, the Vespa gang.
They had a good time.
There were moments in The Mandalorian, there's definitely fun.
Oh, for sure.
Like, there's absolute definite fun. Not so much in season 3, but there was definite fun and all that kind of stuff. I think one of the big detractors, like I am in the middle of the road when it comes to the sequel movies. Like, I love The Force Awakens. I was okay with The Rise of Skywalker, or The Last Jedi, and I hated The Rise of Skywalker. But even in the ones that I liked, there was a lack of fun. The fun that you had in that original trilogy. And so I think there are going to be some people, Chris, who hear what Donald Glover is saying and going, oh no, he wants to make it silly. And I don't think that's what he's saying. I think he's saying you got to bring back that adventure. You got to bring back the scoundrel. You got to make it fun. And whether or not he's going to be able to do that or not, I don't know. I mean, he just came out with a couple of big Emmy nominations for Best Actor and Best Series and all that kind of stuff. And when you look at Atlanta, even in like some of their more twisted episodes, Atlanta was always fun.
Yeah.
So whether he can do it or not, I'm not sure, but I actually kind of like where his head's at here. What do you think about his statements?
I love this. Han and Lando are swashbucklers. That is what they are. This story happens to take place in space. And I'm going to upset some of you right now. Star Wars was never serious sci-fi. It was fun fantasy that just happened to have space elements instead of old-timey D&D references. Wizards or Jedis, etc., etc. Now, that can change and evolve and become different things. To your point, Andor. That's a great political thriller and spy kind of show, right? But we can still have fantastical things. We can still have fun. We can still have pirates. And this old pirate needs to be a fun, charismatic dude. I don't care how you feel about Solo. I feel like most people agreed that Lando was the best part of it.
Yeah, I liked Solo, actually. I think
fun.
Specifically because it was fun.
It's fun. Yeah. It's a fun time. And that's all I want from this. I just want this to be a fun, cool time. I want him to be so debonair. I want to absolutely believe his cons. I want to believe the sleight of hand. And that's the thing. If you are doing a story about a con man, it has to be fun. You have to root for him, even though he is a scoundrel. You look at something like Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, that's a great example.
It's so fun. And even though he is devious and doing some horrible things, and you do find them morally apprehensible, you are rooting for him. And that's what you have to have in Lando. So absolutely bring in that fun factor.
You know how they save that film where, like, once he gets caught, you're kind of okay with it in Catch Me? It's when he becomes desperate. And you start feeling like, oh, this path has ruined his life.
Yeah, this is
so
bad.
Then when he gets caught, you're like, I'm okay with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, because of what he just said, I desperately, in some scene somewhere, want to hear Lando say, "This is whack." I want to. Now he's got to put it in the movie. So look, if he can do it and he can pull off, by the way, for the record, I don't think this movie's ever going to happen. I'm just putting that out there. I mean, I hope it does.
Sorry, guys, we just wasted your last 8 minutes.
But I really don't think the movie's ever going to happen. Hope it does. And if they do, I like where Donald Glover's mindset is at. So let's see what happens. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Donald Glover, award-winning television producer, filmmaker, all that kind of stuff, is saying he wants to do this Lando and he wants to make it fun. Some people see fun as a dirty word in movies now. I think it's absolutely applicable. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Ding dong, the witch is dead. Former MoviePass CEO Mitch Lowe, who took MoviePass from a creative, wonderful idea that was on the right path, then he became CEO and took it to become a company of extortion, a company of mob tactics, and more than anything else, a company of fraud, and drove MoviePass into the ground, has now, according to Variety, pleaded guilty to fraud as they continuously lied to the public and their shareholders that their $9.99 a month plan was totally going to be profitable. Even though every economical model in the world said, "What are you smoking?" There was literally a business model where every time somebody used their service, they lost money. And that was okay to him at the time and his cohorts because they didn't look to make money from the subscription services. They wanted to use, and this is what I complained about for years, their big subscription base as a tool to try to do extortion on the movie theater chains and extortion on the studio, saying, "Oh, you don't want to give us a cut of your profits of that movie? Be a shame if our 5 million MoviePass users couldn't use MoviePass to buy tickets to go see your movie. Oh, hey, movie theater chain, you don't want to cut us in on a percentage of your popcorn sales? Just saying, it would be a shame if our 5 million users couldn't use their MoviePass to go to your theater." It was literally a shakedown and extortion. And meanwhile, kept telling their shareholders that they were going to be profitable. Now, this is all laid out beautifully in the MoviePass documentary that's on Max right now. By the way, I make a little appearance in that movie. But there's a documentary on it that's brilliant and wonderful. And thankfully now MoviePass is back in the hands of the original owner, the guy who actually had the vision and the guy who actually had great plans. There he is. He's back in charge. And for the first time ever, MoviePass today is actually now profitable because he doesn't run it like a mob scheme. But anyway, Mitch Lowe has now had to plead guilty. He says he's coming clean. He's going to cooperate with the prosecutors, and he's facing up to 5 years in jail. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I hope the guy goes to jail. Unless you physically hurt somebody, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying I'm not going to sit here and root for him to go to jail, although if he goes to jail, he deserves it. But, I mean, it's nice to see that sometimes justice will prevail. And it's nice to see that this whole thing is now, there's no more questions. It's all out there. He admits it. Yeah, we pulled a fraud. We were trying to pull a scam. We try to scam people out of their money. We try to scam the industry. We try to shake down other businesses. It's just good to see this happen. So it looks like maybe all's well that ends well. Chris, you heard about this. Mitch Lowe is now pleading guilty to fraud. They're acknowledging it now. Yeah. He's facing jail time. I know. When you look back on MoviePass, what happened, do you feel satisfied with this conclusion? I don't know. How are you feeling about it?
I do, because I was one of the people who went, in what world? In what world is this going to work?
In a world.
This just was bananagrams. And also, I mean, funds went off to pay. The whole case has been ridiculous, right? Because this the charges were first pressed in 2022, I believe. Yep. And funds were being used to pay sex workers, and there were all kinds of other exploitative things happening here.
They're just ha ha, look at us all the way to the
movie passes.
Yay, we're conning you.
Yeah, I'm glad he finally pled guilty, because it was, to me, it was, why would we even go anywhere with this case? This is so open and shut of all the various instances of fraud here. So I'm glad that he finally owned up to everything. I am glad that this is being shut.
Yeah, the deal was probably better for him to plead guilty. So they were like, look, we've got you dead to rights. So you're either going to be spending 5 years in prison or like a year and some fines, or something
in a
like
nice
that.
kind
Whatever
of white collar situation.
Yeah.
So it was the best thing that could happen for him, given all of the horrible missteps he made.
Yeah, I still remember, like, their whole model was in a world right now where the average movie ticket is more than $9. They created a model where all you had to do is use it one time and they were literally losing money. Because if you remember, the way it would work is that you would use your MoviePass card. You would register on MoviePass app that you're going to go see this movie. They would put the amount of funds needed to buy that ticket, let's say it was $12, on your MoviePass card. Then you go and buy your ticket with the MoviePass card. You paid $9.99 a month, but MoviePass just had to pay $12 for you to go to see that movie. With one movie, they were out $3. Mm-hmm. And heaven forbid if you went to go see 2 or 3 movies. And then what started happening was MoviePass subscribers started finding out that, oh, after I went to my 3rd movie, mysteriously my MoviePass card doesn't work anymore. And they were shadow banning people basically until their next payment. I mean, it was just such a mess and such a scam, and all's well that ends well. Guys, question is for you. What do you think? Cord Cutter Cam, I still got my old MoviePass card. I wish I still had my old MoviePass card. What do you think about this? The old CEO who kind of took MoviePass into a criminal enterprise has finally pled guilty. It looks like this whole thing is going to be now closing the chapter on MoviePass. But hopefully the company still has a bright future because they're back in the hands of the original founder now and they're doing good things. How do you feel about this? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we got to talk about this rumor that's flying all over the internet this morning about Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland is going to be a Spider-Man Venom team up. We're going to talk about where that's coming from and whether it should be considered legitimate or not. And, we talked the other day that I suddenly lost a lot of my enthusiasm for Agatha all along because they were holding the review embargo. Well, the first reviews just come out and they're really good. We're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Hungryroot and PrizePicks. We want to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Hungryroot. Guys, you know me, I like things that make my life easier, especially things that make it easier for me to eat healthy and eat well, and certainly more effectively than trying to order from food delivery services. Hungryroot is the easiest way to eat healthy. They send you fresh, high-quality groceries, simple, delicious recipes, and essential supplements. It's like having someone else do all the planning and shopping so you don't even have to think about it. Hungryroot gets to know your personal health goals, dietary restrictions, favorite foods, how much time you want to spend cooking, and more. Then, they build you a personalized cart with all your grocery needs for the week, including easy 4-ingredient recipes to put those groceries to use. Each order is fully customizable so you can take their suggestions or choose anything you want. They've got fresh produce, high-quality meat and seafood, healthy snacks, smoothies, sweets, ready-to-eat meals, kids snacks and meals, vitamins and supplements, and much more. Everything from Hungryroot follows a simple standard. It's got to taste good, be quick to make, and contain whole, trusted ingredients. Right now, Hungryroot is offering the John Campea Show listeners 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/Campea to get 40% off your first delivery and get your free veggies. That's hungryroot.com/Campea. Don't forget to use our link so that they know we sent you. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. You see, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And I was pleasantly surprised by just how quick and easy it was to get set up and registered and ready to go. Here's a couple of examples of picking your more or less. Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards, Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards, and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. So guys, download the PrizePicks app today and use the code CAMPEA and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's That's code Campea on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. And thank you to our friends at Hungryroot and PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the things about the online movie world is that sometimes a rumor gets dropped and it almost seems like it doesn't matter where or who dropped it. And some of them,
rumors.
some of them will just start spreading like wildfire. I started getting a whole bunch of messages in my inbox from people saying, John, did you hear that Spider-Man 4 is going to be a team up with Spider-Man and Venom? I'm like, what? And I haven't heard that. And I looked around and like, where's this coming from? Anyway, I'm also always very hesitant because listen, scooping is a dangerous game. And I got a lot of respect for people who are scoopers and do them well. It's why I stay out of the scoop business. I've maybe dropped like 4 or 5 in 15 years. Because it's just too dangerous of a game. It's far too easy to be wrong and all that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of respect for people who do it, a lot of respect for people who do it well. But that's why I'm always hesitant to call out a rumor, because I don't want it to sound like I'm attacking or trying to be critical of the place that it came from. So I'm not going to name the place where this came from, just because out of caution, I don't want people to think I'm trying to attack them or bash on them at all. But the rumor that's going around right now, and Joe Blow is highlighting, it doesn't come from them, but they're just highlighting it, was that there's a rumor going around saying that Spider-Man 4 was originally going to be a Spider-Man and Daredevil team up, but now it's going to be a Spider-Man and Venom team up. And I don't believe either one of these by any stretch of the imagination. And unfortunately, the source that it's coming from, again, it's not Joe Blow. Again, I'm not saying they're not a very good outlet and a good entertaining website. I'm not saying anything like that at all. I'm just saying that it's coming from an outlet that says a lot of stuff that more times than not ends up not being true or not panning out. I'm not saying that they're lying. I'm just saying they've been wrong. Many, 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 many times. More times than not, they've been wrong. So, but that's not why I don't buy this. Now, you guys will remember that some time ago, there were, again, never confirmed by anybody official, but there were a lot of rumors going around that Sony and Marvel were having disagreements about what the nature of Spider-Man 4 should be. The rumors went on to say that Marvel wanted to make Spider-Man a very street level kind of movie, Spider-Man 4 that is, and that Sony wanted it to be a grander, more multiverse kind of adventure thing, again, because they had such big success with Spider-Man No Way Home. So piggybacking on that, this new rumor says that number one, Marvel wanted to do a Spider-Man and Daredevil crossover. I don't believe that at all. And I'll tell you why I don't believe that at all. Disney is making Daredevil a television character. That's not to say he can't appear in a movie here or there, but they're not going to take one of their television characters and try to make it a big prime main character in a feature film. They tried doing that with the Marvels, and they got spanked for it because a lot of people never saw Photon or never saw Ms. Marvel. I had no idea what they were talking about. And suddenly they put them up on the big screen and it just didn't work. If Disney wanted Daredevil to be a big screen character, guess what? They wouldn't be doing Daredevil Born Again. They just would have brought Charlie Cox over, Vincent D'Onofrio over, and put him in the movies. Instead, they've made them television characters. And I don't for a second believe that they would then try to take that and just make him a main character in one of the movies. It just goes against what the lessons they've learned. It goes against what their thing. Now you can say, but John, Sam from Falcon and Winter Soldier is getting his own Captain America movie. Yes, but Sam was first established as a movie character. They first established him on the big screen, and he's now Captain America. So there's that. So I don't believe that at all. Number two, I don't believe for a second that this Venom character, who I adore the Venom movies, particularly the first one. Second one was still good, not as good as the first, but whatever. But it's not nearly as beloved or as popular as Tom Holland's Spider-Man character is. And I don't believe for a second that Marvel or Sony, well, I can see why Sony would want it, but I don't believe for a second that anybody would seriously consider making Spider-Man 4 a crossover, because when they do crossover, they cross him over with Iron Man. When they do cross Spider-Man over, they cross him over with Doctor Strange. They're not going to cross him over with Venom. Even though, John, don't you know that Venom is a Spider-Man? Yeah, I get that, but that doesn't apply here. And that it was going to be Tom Hardy's Venom. I don't buy it. Now listen, please take note of my language. I'm saying I don't buy it. I'm not saying it's factually impossible to happen. Because we live in a world where Jamie Foxx came back to play Electro again. Which is nothing any sane person ever thought would happen, and it did happen. So we live in that world. So I just want to say, is it possible? Of course it's possible. I'm just saying I don't buy it at all. And I think anybody who hears this rumor, and I would say, put it out of your mind. If it is true, and I don't believe it is, but if it's true, guess what? At some point in the coming months, Variety will report it, Deadline will report it, The Wrap will report it, Variety, Hollywood Reporter. They'll report it if it's true, and then we can worry about it and talk about it. For now, I think this is just one of those noise rumors that maybe kind of lines up with a couple of other things we know, but I don't buy it for a second, even though I'm acknowledging right now it ain't impossible. I just think highly unlikely. Chris, you hear about this. What do you think the chances are that this is real?
Okay. We're not going to take this with a grain of salt. This is like an Epsom soak in a tub. Okay. There are comic book reasons why this could be a thing, right? Because one, in the MCU, there is now the connection of the symbiote coming into our own universe, yada, yada, yada. We know that Null is involved in the Venom story. Null is also connected to the Beyonders and Secret Wars.
In the comic books.
In the comics.
Yes.
And I'm in the comics. Also, we've already had some connections theoretically in the MCU to Null with the Necrosword, which also connects to all these things. So there's some reasons why we could have this happen. Do I think there's going to be a two-man Tom Holland, Tom Hardy team-up movie? More than likely, no. What I think more so could happen is that we see Tom come in for Secret Wars. Because I do believe
sure. Yeah.
that is the thing that's going to happen. So I understand fully having some reshoots that make more sense. But given where our Peter Parker is in the MCU right now, I feel like having symbiotes and gods and things like that, that's not the story that it seems like Marvel is going to tell with their next chapter regarding Peter Parker. It feels like it would be more of a Daredevil thing. I don't think that would happen either, but I do think it would be more boots on the ground, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, existing in a way where Peter feels useful and helpful and not overwhelmed since he's on his own doing these things, or at least not as overwhelmed as if he's dealing with, celestials and swords that were forged inside nowhere. You know what I mean? But I do think, much in the same way that Deadpool and Wolverine was this kind of swan song for so many X-Men Marvel characters, I think that that's what we're going to see with Secret Wars and Sony. I think we'll bring in Tom Hardy, we'll give him a nice farewell, and then we'll say bye to him. I don't think he's going to be leading a film with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go on record, too, and say this. I would be so down for a Tom Holland, Tom Hardy, Spider-Man Venom film.
It'd be super fun.
Don't misinterpret my doubt that this is real as lack of enthusiasm for, because I'm somebody who really likes Tom Hardy's Venom. I would love to see this movie. I'd be totally down for it. I just don't believe for a second that would actually be real.
If we were going to believe, let's say we believe both theories, both things were true in some phase.
At some point.
Then to me that sounds like, and I don't believe both, but to me that sounds like there is a tug of war going between Marvel and Sony of where Spider-Man's going to ultimately land. For one thing, in the article they say, oh, well, at the end of No Way Home, we had that symbiote was left behind at the bar.
Yes.
Yeah, but we see in the trailer for Venom 3, they've retconned that. And this is in Venom's world, and that apparently phased back into his world with him because they capture it on the bar, and that's not 616.
Yeah.
So that's out the door. My only argument for Daredevil is that we do see him in No Way Home because he's his lawyer and he catches that brick. In
Right,
the
but as a
apartment.
cameo, right?
he
Not
no
as
longer
a
knows who Peter
lead.
is.
Okay,
Yeah, not
but you
as a
could bring a
lead
cameo
co-lead.
into a lead.
Oh,
I mean,
for sure.
I think the character is popular enough that people are like, yeah, I know about Daredevil, even if it's like whatever you didn't watch the shows or something. But I don't think he'd be a co-lead.
No.
And but he'd be more than he'd be like almost like a new kind of mentor that pops up in a couple scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But haven't they
not
done
co-lead.
that with Spider-Man already?
Yeah, but he's still just a boy.
needs
he's a
someone.
Spider Boy, not yet a
He's been
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man for 8 years now.
know, he's a
I
baby.
understand, but he's still just a baby. I fully believe
Spiders
these are,
age differently than humans,
Yeah.
so
I fully believe these are all conversations that have happened at the studio. I don't believe these are things that are coming to fruition. I think these were when everything was blue skies and up for
blue
discussion.
skies.
Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? There are two separate questions here. One, do you believe in the validity of this? I absolutely do not. I think this is something you can just throw out of your head and not even think about it again. The second question is, would I be down for something like this? Hell yes, I'd be down for. I think this would be really fun. I would love to see it. But whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? It's been an emotional roller coaster for me, following along what's going on with Agatha all along. And at one point, I'm super excited about it because I loved WandaVision, I love Catherine Hahn, and I loved the character Agatha. And when they said they were going to do an Agatha all along, totally down for it. I've really liked the trailers for it. I think this show's going to be really, really good. Oh no, but then comes the down, because then news came out the other day that the full reviews for the show were being held until the day of release of the show. Never a good sign. And then all of a sudden, as the roller coaster continues, the first reactions for it come out last night. Some from people I know have been very skeptical about this show. One person in particular, a friend of mine who doesn't even like WandaVision, which is crazy to me because WandaVision is clearly the best thing Disney Plus has ever done. But a friend of mine didn't even like WandaVision, didn't give me a call, sent me a text message last night, said, Agatha is really good. Like, really? Now, granted, these people have seen the first 4 episodes. Agatha All Along debuts this week with the first 2, but these people have seen the first 4. Not all of them, so we don't know if it's Sixth Landing. But like Variety's saying here, Agatha All Along first reactions, Catherine Hahn's Marvel return hailed as bewitching, deliciously devious, and batshit crazy in all the right kinds of ways. So let's take a minute here and see what a bunch of people are saying about this. Joseph wrote, Agatha All Along is the perfect follow-up to WandaVision. The first 4 episodes are a delightful mix of Hocus Pocus and Wizard of Oz with a hint of horror and loads of comedy. This series is insanely fun and engaging. It's got that captivating vibe as WandaVision. Michael Patterson writes, Agatha All Along is absolutely batshit crazy in all the right kinds of ways. Catherine Hahn is a force, camping it up as Agatha Harkness like we all knew she would. The rest of the cast is also divine, and Joe Locke is a gem, vivid, outlandish, and brilliant. Geekcentric wrote, after 4 episodes of Agatha All Along, it's clear this WandaVision spinoff keeps the mystery alive, casting a new bewitching spell. Catherine Hahn is perfection, embracing every wicked moment. The musical elements don't just enhance, they enchant. This is the magic the MCU needs. Then we got the movie podcast writes, Agatha All Along is the perfect show for the spooky season and filled with big witch energy. Catherine Hahn is iconic as ever and delivers a deliciously devious and spellbinding performance. Joe Locke is a scene stealer. This is the most fun you'll have feasting on a show this year. Ryan Carrera writes, the first 4 episodes of Agatha All Along are a strong sequel to WandaVision as they have their own identity. The songs are great. Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza's dynamic is electric. Deborah Jo Rupp brings the laughs, but this is the scariest MCU project to date. Weekly theories are back. Anthony wrote, Agatha All Along is wickedly fun, a witch spinoff that casts its own spell. Catherine Hahn is delightfully mischievous. Joe Locke is a blast to watch. And the Coven's chemistry will leave you bewitched. A perfect Marvel series. Everybody's using all the puns.
I know.
I don't like that. A perfect Marvel series for the Halloween season, bound to leave you hexed. Sophia Soto wrote, If there was ever a character that deserved her own spin-off series, it's Agatha Harkness. Kathryn Hahn is better than ever, thriving as she takes center stage. As for Joe Locke, he is a total scene stealer and will no doubt become a new Marvel fan favorite. And then, Caitlin, we'll just end with this. We can go on. There's a whole bunch of them, but magic is back in the MCU with Agatha all along. Kathryn Hahn and Aubrey Plaza are phenomenal. Joe Locke is adorable. The mystery and witchy visuals are stunning, completely drawing you in. This is the perfect way to kick off the spooky season.
Okay.
So, now we talked about this the other day. I said, I think my enthusiasm's dropped. I think my enthusiasm's dropped a bit not because of anything I've seen from the show, but because apparently of this, review embargo and stuff like that. Now, the one I read was from a guy I know from Screen Rant who said he didn't love it. He said he thought it was a little too slow and stuff like that. I said, Kathryn Hahn is great. Aubrey Plaza is great. The cast is really good, but it's a little too slow for him, and it's not really his cup of tea. Totally get that. And by the way, a couple of the others that I've read as well, even the ones who loved it, say the first couple episodes are a slow burn. Like it slowly draws you in. That really works for some people. It doesn't work for others. Now listen, I got to tell you, Disney Plus, particularly their Marvel stuff, but their Marvel and their Star Wars stuff, has burned me many times. Right? Whether you're talking in Star Wars, Acolyte, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, suck. Whether you're talking about the Marvel stuff, I mean, God, I still haven't recovered from Secret Invasion.
Oof, Magoof. I forgot about that show.
Oh, I'm sorry I reminded you.
Oh, it was so bad.
It was so bad. I'm sorry I had to bring it up and remind you of that.
I completely purged it from my brain.
And I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying I can't get there. Maybe I will. But right now, I am not looking forward to Ironheart. I'm not looking forward to Wonder Man. I'm not looking forward to just about anything else they've got coming out. But there's something about Agatha. Because I loved her in WandaVision. And I want this to be good. And I believe it'll be good. And so, I got to say, my roller coaster continues because I like what I'm hearing. I'm particularly happy that I'm hearing from a couple of people that I know specifically, were skeptical. Like Amelia wrote this, said, I had a lot of concerns heading into Agatha all along, but I'm thrilled to report that the witch has quite enjoyed what she's seen so far. I'm having a ton of fun theorizing already, and I really hope it sticks the landing. So hearing from a couple of people who I know were going into Agatha very skeptical, hearing from somebody that I know that didn't even like WandaVision, which I don't understand at all, but whatever, he's entitled to his opinion, didn't even like WandaVision, telling me, I really like this Agatha show. Again, does that guarantee anything? No. Also, even if they're right, and the first 4 episodes are great, Disney Plus is notoriously bad on sticking their end. Unless it's called Andor, they're very bad on sticking their landing. So maybe the first 4 episodes are great, but maybe the last 4 are terrible. Don't know. But I'm at least re-encouraged. I'm at least re-encouraged for now what I'm seeing for this. Anyway, Chris, where's your expectations like right now heading into Agatha with the reactions we're hearing and whatnot?
Oh, man. So I've been really hyped about this show. I love Agatha Harkness, especially because it's such a reinventing of her character, what we see in WandaVision. For those of you who don't know, she started as a Fantastic Four character.
A nanny for
Franklin.
For Franklin Richards,
Her first issue was when we finally learned Franklin's name back in 1969. Fun stuff. Just hangs out with them and helps him kind of hone his powers and stuff. Really, it's Kathryn Hahn's portrayal that has now shifted how that character exists in the comics, which is some powerful stuff. To completely make a character pivot is really, really cool. I finally lost a little bit of steam, though, on the whole embargo issue.
Yeah, me too.
But this makes me really happy, especially having people point blank say, hey, I was nervous going into this, and they do a good job here. Now, does that mean that we are going to have a really successful show? Jury's out. Episodes 8 and 9 could totally just
drop the ball.
Exactly, because we've seen that happen before. We've all been burned. But I am intrigued. I'm honestly surprised that this is the scariest thing that's come out so far, and I'm nervous and excited about that.
Several of them have been saying that, saying it's legit scary. It's like there's legit horror elements to it. So I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah,
But it's interesting to hear.
I'll be scared. Well, y'all know that. I'm scared of everything.
Agatha goes poking people's eyes.
Oh, yeah. It'd be horrible. I am concerned though about just about that embargo, and I do want to know about some of the mysteries in here because I'm trying to figure out how they're going to be wrapped up in a satisfying way, right? Like Joe Locke being just simply known as Teen. Who is he?
By the way, of several of the reactors were saying that who Joe Locke is going to become the next big theory thing for all the fans trying to figure out who he is.
Because that's already a big thing online, I know. And really finding out a lot more about Aubrey Plaza I'm interested in too.
Right.
Because I'm wondering how her character is going to shake out since Rio is invented for this show. But we've seen Marvel do this before where it's a bait and switch of, but they're actually this. So I'm interested to see how the final episodes are going to happen. And we're going to see if they give us a good ending here that makes us want to watch more as opposed to, things like Moon Knight or others where they started out great and then we kind of went, oh, that's it. That's my fear here.
Yeah. Now, when is it? It drops tomorrow, right?
Yes, yeah.
6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. Ray, you're going to have to come by and we're going to have to watch the first couple episodes. Maybe we'll do a reaction to it afterwards. But listen, I'm just going to hope that this is a recovery from the not so great streak Disney Plus stuff is on, and I'm believing in it. I'm choosing to believe in this. Hopefully it won't let me down like the Acolyte did. But guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Where's your anticipation level right now for Agatha? I think people are sleeping on it, but we'll find out. I'm at least encouraged a little bit by the early reactions, but again, it was just for the first 4 episodes. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to the most important part of our show here, shall we? Which is taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at The Perfect Jean. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Jean. Okay, so I've got to tell you about The Perfect Jean. These jeans are seriously a game changer. You know that feeling you get when you find a pair of jeans that fit so well that you almost forget that you're wearing them? That's what happened when I tried these. I'm not kidding. They're as comfortable as your favorite sweatpants, and they can slide on like them too, but they still look amazing. Look, as guys, we've all suffered through stiff, uncomfortable jeans, but The Perfect Jean is all about recusing well your gentlemanly area. These jeans are soft, stretchy, and they fit like they were custom made just for you. Because they've got an insane range of sizes, whether you're a skinny jeans kind of guy or rocking the bigger look. And they didn't just stop with jeans, they've got the perfect tee as well, with just the right amount of stretch to hide that beer belly, but still make you look great. It's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code Campea15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with the promo code Campea15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show by telling them that we sent you. F your khakis and get the perfect jean. And thank you to our friends at The Perfect Jean for keeping my balls from getting crushed and for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. It's very important. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to your live comments and questions, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Say My Name is here and says, just did back-to-back with the girlfriend of... Man, don't say back-to-back with the girlfriend of BJ. And speak no evil. Gotta say, John, movies are subjective because I hate the first Beetlejuice, but the second Beetlejuice was a great time. As for Speak No Evil, McAvoy kills it again. The film reminded me of Dog Soldiers from 2002.
Oh.
It's funny because I like the first Beetlejuice movie. I think I haven't heard from many people that didn't like the first one, but did like the second one. That's very unique. But again, that's a great example of the subjectivity of film. It all hits us in different ways. I personally thought the movie was horrible. It's going to end up in my top 10 worst films of the year list, but it's having great success. I'm glad it's having all that success. I'm glad people like you are enjoying it. And it's always great when people are going to movies and having a good time, even if it's for a movie that I didn't like myself. All right, what's next?
Twilight Boy.
Twilight Boy.
Someone said WWE is the best it's been since Ruthless Aggression, but I'd say it's been the best since Attitude. It's been phenomenal since January. Lately, the character of Roman Reigns in particular has been noticeably nuanced and well written for WWE.
Oh.
Yeah, the Attitude Era, I still think might be the golden age of wrestling. Like that was just so great. I'm not following a lot of wrestling these days, but did you see who's getting an AEW title shot, Ray?
Oh, Nigel.
Nigel's getting an AEW. He's going to be fighting Bryan Danielson,
Yep.
also known as Daniel Bryan.
I believe they're supposed to
In New York?
wrestle a long time ago.
Yeah, they're going to wrestle because Nigel's back wrestling again. He's going to wrestle for the title in New York. Ann and I are actually thinking about going.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, we were just hanging out with Kaori and Nigel 2 nights ago, and they're like, do you guys want to go to New York for it? And we're actually thinking about going to New York to go see the match. It should be kind of
Dang.
fun.
That's rad. When is that?
It's the end of this month. It's it's
okay.
the 20-somethingth.
Sweet.
And it's going to be held at, I never would have guessed this. It's going to be held at like a tennis of Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Oh, nice.
Where they have like the US Open and stuff like
Oh,
that,
cool.
which is going to be
Okay.
really interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, thinking about that. Anyway. All right. What's next?
Twilight Boy is back.
Again?
Saw Lord of the Rings trilogy in theaters with someone who never saw them. She loved the first 2, but only liked the third.
What?
Asked why, and she said she wasn't invested in Gondor like she was Rohan in Two Towers, so all the battles didn't mean as much. I guess I can understand that in terms of like the humanistic, but like if you lose there, you lose everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Like, you
Rohan's
lose-
dead.
Yeah, it like Gondor is the representation of Gondor falls, Middle Earth falls.
Yeah.
That's but okay, look. All right, I consider Lord of the Rings Return of the King, the third of the trilogy, to be the single greatest achievement ever in filmmaking. I don't necessarily think it's the greatest movie of all time, but when you consider, again, I say this all the time, all the disciplines that go into making a movie, writing, directing, visual effects, set design and construction, costuming, the performances, directing, cinematography, sound, music. When you consider all those, I don't know that there's ever been a movie that's been like so top of the top. Lord of the Rings Return of the King currently holds the record with 2 other films as the most Oscar wins ever in history. It won 11. No film in history has ever won more than that. It won in every single category it was nominated for. I say all that to emphasize again just how much I hold the conviction that all film is subjective. So when you tell me that girl you went with didn't really like the third one, the one side of me is, dump her! Get rid of her!
Well, she didn't
She
say
didn't
didn't
hate
like.
it.
You said
Don't
she liked
let her
it, didn't love it.
influence you in any way.
She liked it. She didn't love it.
But all film is subjective. All movies, even ones that I think are the greatest of all time, they're going to hit us all in different ways. So it's a little bit of a shock to my system to hear didn't like the third one.
I think
What?
compared to the
Well,
others,
that's
she's
fair.
probably saying. I go between the first and the second one being my favorite.
I love Two
Something about the first is just such a like an adventure, like what do you call it? Like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of adventure
Yeah,
thing, which
for sure.
obviously hits
You-
it right on the nose.
You stop in a tavern, you meet a ranger.
Yeah, it's just a fun adventure. You know, it's
That's
different.
how
from
every
across the
campaign
elves.
starts. Yeah.
But I'll listen. Look, I know this isn't the nature of the question, but man, I still remember. You got to understand. I grew up reading The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and whenever a movie gets based on a book we've read or a comic we know, we all go into it with a picture of it in our heads already. But I just remember at the beginning of the first Lord of the Rings film, The Fellowship of the Ring, and like once you get past that opening monologue where Cate Blanchett is narrating the history of the ring, and now we come to the Shire, and that that Howard Shore music starts to play, la da 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 da, and you see that cart, and you see Gandalf on it, and he comes across Frodo, and then they ride into the Shire as he's driving by individual hobbits and their things like that, and I just remember I nearly wept, like I nearly straight up cried. Because the way Peter Jackson portrayed the Shire was so perfectly in line with the way I always had it in my head. And I just, like, I felt I was there, and it's just so magical and beautiful. Oh, God, I love those movies. There's a reason I do a rewatch of that every year. It's just, oh, it's so good. All right, what's next?
Full Boyle says, did anyone see Eric Andre's acceptance speech during the Creative Arts Emmys? It was funny when he began to saying, wow, I'm so glad I'm not up against Shogun. Thank God. I wonder how many other winners had the same thought.
And listen, Shogun didn't win every category it was nominated for. It lost like I think original score, a music or two categories. It lost in best supporting actor.
I think it lost in a writing one too, which actually
It
was
did.
Slow Horses.
Slow
episode.
Horses won the best writing in a drama series, which was a surprise, but that it lost that one. So I think it was overall nominated for 25. They had 25 nominations, ended up winning 18, again shattering the previous record of 13. But yeah, again, it's like that year with the Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. It's like literally everything it was nominated for, it won. So it wouldn't have been good to be up against a Shogun category this year. All right, what's next?
Right. We got Eddie Burton says, do you feel it's premature to report low ticket advances for Joker 2? The first Joker wasn't for everyone to begin with. I'm reading outlets say it'll bomb. Now, I don't think it'll make the money the first one did, but I don't think it'll fail either.
It's not premature to report numbers. Numbers are numbers, right? You can interpret the numbers however you want, and you can project with numbers, but numbers are numbers. So no, I don't believe it's premature at all. All I'm saying is this. Right now, it's being projected that it's going to make $70 million in its opening weekend. $70 million for an R-rated film in its opening weekend. Now, that's less than what the first Joker did, but I've been telling you guys for over a year, this movie's going to make less than the first Joker did. But 70 million opening weekend is nothing to sneeze at. This movie is not going to bomb.
I'm looking.
I haven't seen the movie yet. I mean, if I watch the movie and I think it sucks and I don't think it's going to have any rewatchability, well, maybe I'll change my mind. But yeah, this movie, I've been telling you guys for over a year, this is not going to be $1 billion film. It's not going to be any of that kind of stuff. The first Joker was not for everybody. There's going to be a lot of people who saw the first Joker that are not going to be interested in going to see the second Joker. I am, but they're acting like it's projected to make $5 million opening week. It's being projected to make 70 million. I don't know what people want.
I don't know. I'm looking at Thursday and Friday, and a lot of the seats are like taken. So,
So I like, again,
at least in my area,
we'll see. But no, I don't believe it's premature to report numbers. That's fine. But I think the interpretation of those numbers, again, and we'll see what happens. Like, we'll see. But 70 million is nothing to sneeze at for an opening weekend. Just ask Francis Ford Coppola if he would like a $70 million opening right now. Ooh. All right, what's next?
I think he'd go for a 70 million worldwide at this point. So, Anonymous is literally 3 movies, Blink Twice, Afraid, and Crow are already out on digital, with one ticket costing sometimes between $25 and a soda, and a popcorn costing $15 to $20. No wonder people are staying at home more and more. But you don't have to get snacks. I mean, that's
I mean,
You kind of do.
You bring in a Chipotle burrito.
Yeah, or do that.
you kind of do. I don't.
Listen, we saw over the past couple of years the industry start to go in one direction, realizing it was costing them a ton of money, and start to come back the other way, right? We saw that like when the pandemic started, everybody thought streaming is going to be everything. And slowly every single studio has come back the other way, saying, no, that wasn't what we thought it was going to be. Now, I understand some of the logic in wanting to rush out a movie that failed at the box office into home video, because if you do make its home video in 3, 4, 5 months, you now got to remount another marketing campaign, right? To put it back in the public, not like just a tiny shred of what your main marketing campaign was, but you do have to remount another marketing campaign to make the public aware that, hey, we're now putting this movie out on home video. By releasing it, a failed movie on home video so close to its theatrical release, you don't have to do that as much, right? Because whatever awareness there's going to be, people have it now, so we can kind of save a little bit of money on the marketing. What the industry is going to realize, maybe in the next year or two, is that by rushing these movies to home video, they are conditioning the movie-going audience to go, oh, don't give that movie a shot in theaters. If we are interested in it, we'll wait for it to come out on home video. And they're going to actually end up costing themselves more money in the long run than they did by having a traditional window. That's why we're seeing now some studios boasting about the fact that we're giving this movie a 100-day window, or we're giving this movie a proper 85-day window, or we're like, you're starting to see that again. I think we'll see it really start to come back into play in about a year. So I get the idea of why you want to do that, the temptation, because you save yourself a little bit of marketing money. The question is, in the long term, how much are you costing your future movies by conditioning the audience to not go to the theaters? That's where they're going to bite themselves in the ass, and that's when they're going to start to realize and start to turn that back around, I think. All right, what's next?
You got Don't You Blame the Movies. Had a question about composers yesterday, and it was so funny. My children were playing the E.T. theme song that morning. When the score kicks in, it gave me goosebumps. Thinking about the bikes raising into the air, that was movie magic.
One of the most magical, Ann and I go every year to the John Williams concert at the Hollywood Bowl, and one of the most magical moments ever was when they played that entire end scene of E.T., and they had they had it playing up on the big screen as the orchestra played the whole scene along with it. The music of that scene is so magical and so powerful, and yet another example about why John Williams is the clear GOAT of all time. All right, what's next?
Raymond Parada says, congrats to Shogun's Hiroyuki Sanada for his Emmy. Just found out that he was in Japan's Message from Space, Galactic Wars, a TV series, a cheap Star Wars ripoff in 1978. Huh. I saw this in the Philippines. Please, Disney, cast him in the real Star Wars movie.
You don't start with an actor and then try to come up with a role for him. If he's right for a role, put him in that. But again, he's just one of these actors who's been so diverse. He's been in so many kinds of movies, and he's just so good. And one of those few actors there are very few actors on the planet who have the power, the screen presence power that he does. And like, that's why I said, when they first announced Shogun, I'm like, who are you going to get to play Toranaga? Because this is a guy that every syllable he utters commands attention and respect. Who are you going to get to do that? And they went and got Hiroyuki Sanada. And like, he killed it, totally deserved that Emmy. All right, what's next?
Okay. Anonymous says, in 1974, Emmys they awarded Super Emmys. The winner of each Best Dramatic Award faced off against their comedy counterparts. The winners getting a Super Emmy. This required winners to be announced well before the ceremony. Everyone hated it. It sounds like a disaster.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not an Emmy historian at all, but I've never heard of that. That kind of sounds, because this sounds like a bodybuilding competition. Because for those of you who don't know, in a lot of bodybuilding competitions, what they do is, like, there's weight classes, and there's a winner in each weight class, but then they bring out all the winners in each weight class to do a final pose down, and the judges, declare a supreme champion, right? I think they do the same thing in that big annual dog show, right? What's the big world famous dog show?
Manchester Dog Show?
Yeah, like they have a winner in each category of dog, then they bring out each of the winners, and then they announce a big winner. It sounds like they did something like that with the Emmys. I've never heard of that before. Sounds really stupid, though. Sounds really dumb. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Okay, Matan says, the problem people have with humor in Marvel and others subscribe to cynical weed and harmony humor that always cut a serious moment with a joke. Frankly, it's very annoying, and I feel like those doing it don't take the gravity of things.
I think you're 1,000% wrong. It's why Marvel worked. The reason all those, it's like so many of those early Marvel films made $1 billion is because they found that balance. That magical balance that they started to lose of understanding when things starts to get heavy, introduce humor. When it's starting to get a little too humorous, bring in something heavy again. What you're saying was something that bothered you was actually the formula that made everything so successful and why the audience loved it so much. That's why the audience loved it. Did it work for everybody? No. But it's that key thing that made Marvel the single most successful film franchise in history. It was that balance. Now, where Marvel started to lose the audience was when they went out of balance, right? So we'll just use the obvious poster child for this. Thor: Love and Thunder but there have been others, but that's the obvious poster child. That's when they lost their balance. Like Thor Ragnarok was a great example of the perfect balance. The darkest, other than the end of Infinity War, the darkest stuff ever in Marvel happens in Thor Ragnarok. The destruction of Asgard, the death of Odin, Thor losing his eye, like, on and on. So many dark things happen in that. But it was Thor Ragnarok is such a triumph because it's a perfect balance of the humor with the seriousness, and always balancing out. And you get this great flow. And then you get Thor Love and Thunder, which loses that balance and went too much into the silly. But yeah, the thing that you're complaining is a problem is actually the key thing that led to it becoming the biggest, most successful, most fan favorite film franchise in history. So yeah, there's that. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, anyone fans of the YouTube channel Cinema Therapy, hosts Alan and Jono are screenwriters and therapists, respectively. Do deep dives into movies and look at the characters through a therapist lens. How screenplay conveys emotions, a must-watch for film fans.
I'll be out. Look, most people on the planet have never heard of the John Campea YouTube channel. I've never heard of this one. That doesn't say anything. So, but no, I have no thought or opinion on it because I've actually never heard of the channel myself. All right, what's next?
Johan says, speaking of Star Wars series being better as a movie, Patterson just released the Ahsoka cut. 2.5 hour long and much better pacing. For instance, the Sith already have the star map. A lot is improved. He even added smiles on Ahsoka's face here and there.
You know, I got told that I was emailed, because you remember I love that Obi-Wan cut. That a guy online took Obi-Wan and cut it, re-edited the whole thing, moved things around, took some things out, all that kind of stuff, and made an Obi-Wan movie. And while I'm not going to say that the movie ended up being great, it was way better than the series. I found out that he has also done, I heard the other day that he had done an Ahsoka cut as well. And I'd be curious, because again, I think Ahsoka was a bad show. But again, re-edited, things moved around, take a bunch of things out, make a tighter package. Maybe I'll have to check it out at some point. I don't have a lot of 2.5 hour blocks of time. I can just sit down and do that, but I am curious to check it out. I'll have to look into it. All right, what's next?
Irving says, hey, John and crew, I actually never have been a fan of the Transformers franchise and only watched the first Michael Bay film. With all of the hype, a great word of mouth, I actually we'll be seeing it later this week, so I'm actually excited.
Chris, did you and Logan get a chance to go see this?
No, I was telling them I didn't get to go. We had some family stuff come up this week. It's been kind of a
It's
mess.
so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I'm sorry. Well, Harloff texted me and was like, hey, remember how we thought that trailer was dog shit? This is actually one of the best movies I've ever seen.
It's so great.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it.
I mentioned this the other day. My first thought when I came out was, because you got to remember, I was a child when it's the 40th. By the way, Jonathan, remind me today. Yeah. Today is the 40th anniversary of Transformers hitting TV stations, the animated show. It's the 40th anniversary. So as a child, like I was like my whole life, this is the Transformers movie I have waited my whole life for.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
And all those people who were saying in the early reactions, this is the greatest Transformers movie ever. It's the greatest Transformers movie ever.
Damn.
I think it's better than Bumblebee.
Oh, that's high praise.
Yeah,
okay.
and I really liked Bumblebee.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for you to see it.
I'm pumped.
I think you're going to love it, actually. I think you are going to love it.
Sweet.
All right, what's next?
Okay, and then Irving just followed up. For the sports channel you mentioned yesterday, I would 100% tune in for your sports take and content. As a diehard Cleveland fan, I am a miserable Browns fan and most certainly miss Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, so just so you know, for fun, I am starting a second YouTube channel where because I want to talk sports so much. I always said if I wasn't doing YouTube movie thing, I would be working at an ESPN radio station somewhere.
So I'm going to be a pundit on that too.
Oh, yes,
right?
absolutely.
Because with my vast knowledge,
yeah,
where would
it's
you
going to be a
without
Saturday
me?
show called The Gridiron with Chris Carr.
Which sport is gridiron?
Football, where we break down all the upcoming Sunday matches. Chris is going to give you the over-unders and all the football matches. No, so
I'm going to rate mascots.
So I've decided that I'm going to do now. Again, it's for fun. I have no sponsors, anything like that. It's just I need an outlet where I can talk more sports. So I'm just going to put out maybe every couple of days. I'm going to put out a couple of short videos every day. Just my thoughts on something going on in the world of sports and things like that. And I've got a name for it. It's a terrible name, but all the names are taken.
You went with my suggestion.
What was
Right?
it again?
John Sportsia show. It's
Yeah,
perfect. It has a ring
no,
to it.
I did not go.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say you went.
That's
No.
so stupid. I love
I
it.
couldn't
But you
imagine
know what?
anything better.
In honor of Chris Carr, I wanted to name it Sports Ball.
Oh, that's actually kind of fun.
Yes, but it was taken
See, I helped. Oh.
by, get this, it was taken with a YouTube channel that hasn't uploaded in like 5 years now, but it's still there. And one of the co-hosts of Sports Ball, Maya Khalifa, one of the world's most famous porn stars, was one of the
I was like-
co-hosts. Was one of the co-hosts of that. I thought, I can't just
Not
steal
familiar with
Sports
porn
Ball.
either.
No.
Sports or porn.
So I can't do that.
No.
Then I thought, you know what would be a good name? Game Day.
There you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Taken. Then I thought,
You're toying with my emotions here, John.
I thought of about 50 different names. Guys, remember, the name of a YouTube channel is not important. It really isn't. But still, I put some thought into it, and like I made a list in like Apple Notes. I made a list of about 41 names, all taken in one shape or another. So I
Just calling it F it with John Candy.
that's not bad.
I would.
I thought about sports balls.
Yeah.
Taken.
Yeah.
I thought about a lot of different things. So I finally settled on a name I don't like. Just to be clear, I'm not a big
Settled on
fan
a name
of
I
it.
don't like.
I'm not thrilled with it, but at the end of the day,
Uh-huh.
the title of it doesn't matter. So the name of the channel is. I thought about taking a little bit of something that's already associated with me, and I wanted the name sports in it.
Sports League.
Filthy Sports
oh,
is
there you
the
go.
name of the channel. It's
Oh, yeah, all
now
okay.
I
You're
like
getting in the
sports.
mud. You're getting in the dirt.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst title, but you know, I just needed a name, so called. But F it is not a bad title either. That one's not so bad. So I think actually later today, my first video is going to drop
Nice.
Fun.
on it, and yeah, I'll let you guys know where you can find. Again, remember, not meant to be taken seriously. It's fun. It's a fun hobby for me, just as an outlet, because I've wanted for years to have a little outlet where I could talk sports. So that's where it's going to be, and I'm not putting it on my own channel. So there you go. Filthy Sports. I'll let you know when the first video drops. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, "Hello, John and crew. Just watched the trailer for Brothers starring Peter Dinklage and Josh Brolin. Looks hilarious. Glenn Close, Brendan Fraser, and Marissa Tomei. Directed by Palm Springs director. Yeah, I'm in. Hope it doesn't disappoint."
Yeah, that's the person I forgot to mention was Brendan Fraser is in it as well.
Yay.
Apparently playing a cop, and he looks really funny in it.
Love him.
I didn't think the first 30 seconds of it, I thought, but then the trailer really picks up, and by the end of that trailer, I'm like, yes, I'm on board. I'm going to see this. I'm glad you like the trailer. All right,
Oh
what's
no,
next?
Mr. Forklift just said, "Hate to tell John, but Filthy Sports is taken. Last upload 9 years ago.
And yet I was able to get it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, so
Well, never
there we
mind
go.
then.
All right, what's next?
The Tick says, "Is John Williams the Hollywood goat of goats? I can't think of anyone associated with the filmmaking industry who's excelled in their respective field to the level Williams has, except maybe Walt Disney."
Spielberg. I mean that's it's John Williams and Spielberg. I mean, because Spielberg, like it's funny when you actually sit down and start and you go over all of his movies, and I'm talking not as a producer, I'm talking as a director. He transcended every single genre, every kind of movie, from period piece to sci-fi to fantasy to adventure to animated to, like, he just did it all. Whereas a lot of the greatest filmmakers of all time, they all make one kind of movie. Like, I love Quentin Tarantino. Love him. He's one of the GOATs. I love Quentin Tarantino. Make no mistake about it. But he makes Tarantino movies. He makes, like, kind of all of his movies are in one specific kind of sandbox. That's why I got so excited when the word first came out that he was maybe looking at doing a Star Trek film. I was like, yeah, I would love to see Quentin Tarantino get out of that sandbox and do something a little bit different. Steven Spielberg has literally made every kind of movie, and every time he does, they become one of the best of all time of that kind. He makes some of the best sci-fi of all time. He's made some of the best adventure of all time. He's made some of the best period pieces of all time. Hell, even a movie I thought it was a mistake for him to do, West Side Story. I thought it was a mistake. I said for over a year, I don't know why Steven Spielberg is doing this. One of the greatest musical movies of all time. He did so good with that movie. I loved it. So I would put Spielberg and Williams. What do you think, Chris?
He's amazing. I'm still mad at him for not giving me a second Tintin, though. Make
Yeah.
movies that I want, sir.
Yeah. And you know what?
Selfish of him.
Whenever him and Peter Jackson are asked about it, they still say it's happening.
I know.
But I just doubt it more and more every year.
That's all I want.
All right, what's next?
Pessimist Prime says Netflix's realistic CGI Gundam Requiem for Vengeance looks incredible. The opening scene was released. It looks absolutely insane, super bloody, and looks to be very heavy and dark.
Yeah.
I've not heard anything
Why?
about
Looking
this.
forward to
Me
that.
neither.
The
There's
new
so
Gundam
much
show,
Gundam
right?
stuff.
Wait,
though,
they've
yeah.
actually put out a clip?
I
the
guess so.
Opening
sequence.
scene, anyways. I don't know.
All right, I'll go and look for that after the show's done. Thank you for putting that on my radar. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher says my cousin is a talent agent and was an EP on Hacks, so he won an Emmy this weekend. That's awesome.
Technically speaking, EPs don't get the Emmy.
Oh. Wow, John.
I don't know. So, okay, sorry, but hey, listen, a show he's an EP on won an Emmy. That is still by far an amazing accomplishment.
Sam Fisher, Logan and I have auditioned. Please talk to your family member. Please.
For Hacks?
Please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Logan's auditioned a bunch.
All right,
Come on,
what's
man.
next?
Generic Man says just me, or is it just me, or is there quiet fervent of hype building up for the official opening day of Transformers 1? Seems almost unanimously a pleasant surprise by those who've seen it. Do you think it is taking number 1 this weekend, and what do you predict for weekend gross?
Well, I remember a
Let's see.
few
Look at
months
the
ago, the
calendar.
long range forecast was for Transformers 1 to make in the $25 million range opening weekend, which sounded about right to me. Now they're saying 30 to 35 million, and it could go up from there as the word of mouth from that. Listen, that Saturday fan event thing was a great idea because the word of mouth now is great. The narrative around this movie's changed. Because remember, just like a month or two ago, the general narrative around it was, this looks stupid. I always thought it looked good. I always thought it looked good. But a lot of people saying this looks stupid, whatever. Today, there's a different conversation going on, right? Like you can see it now in a lot of the online conversations that now there's an enthusiasm for it. So I think 35 to 40, which I think will be just good enough for it to take first place. Because remember, Beetlejuice made 51, 52 million on its second weekend. I think that'll drop down to about 30 for its third. And I do think Transformers 1 can make more than that. So yeah, I'll say Transformers 1 takes the top spot this week. It's not going to be a huge blockbuster.
It doesn't have a lot of competition. It's a lot of indie films. So
Well, yeah, but can it get people to the theaters at all? And here's the problem. It's facing all the baggage of a very, other than Bumblebee, a very disappointing franchise. There's a lot of baggage that comes along with the word Transformers. People think of bad Michael Bay movies. And Rise of the Beast didn't do anything to change that. So not only does it have to be a great movie, but there's going to be a lot of people that just stay away from it because it's like, I've been burned by Transformers movies too much. So if it can make 35 to 40, I think they got to take that as a big win. Well, we'll see. All right, what's next?
Generic Man says, just me, or is there this quiet? No, just read that one. Sorry, let me scroll up. Bry Guy says, not you, Giovanni. You don't give a shit about the Powerpuff Girls. I'm talking to Chris.
Oh.
Chris, how could you feel about an adult animated Powerpuff Girls? A reboot from Jason Reitman, Diablo Cody, and the creator of Hazbin Hotel.
So just to be clear, he's making this all up.
Yeah, because I don't think Jason Reitman's
I was
doing
going to
Powerpuff.
say, if the creator of Hazbin Hotel was on board, absolutely. I do have to say, too, so that live-action Powerpuff Girls show that got
right?
tanked,
Yeah.
where people read snippets of the script and were like, this looks horrible, this sounds so bad. One, that was so ridiculous. They sent out the actors who were auditioning for it the full script,
Oh, wow.
which someone was a jerk and put out clips of it, but they didn't put out the whole thing. And it was one of the funniest things I had ever read in my life. And when you only got these weird little snippets, you missed that it was satire. And it was so good and so funny and so sharp. Logan auditioned to be Mojo Jojo's son for that. And it was such a great script. I love the Powerpuff Girls, and I wish they'd do something with them. They're great.
Yeah. I mean, look, the reality is you announce any, and I'm dead serious, you announce any movie project of Jason Reitman directing and Diablo Cody writing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that then for sure. But who gives a shit about Powerpuff Girls? Anyway. All right, what's next?
Logan Vaughn says, I joined MoviePass in 2016 when it was $45 a month. Once it became $10 a month, things went nuts. I was shadow banned all the time. It did help me see 100 movies in theaters back in 2016, but AMC A-List is such an improvement. IMAX inclusion is king.
Well, yeah, like you have to have lived in one of the big cities, because like where you lived also influenced how expensive MoviePass was, because certain cities are more expensive, have more expensive movie tickets than other cities. And I remember I think I was paying $35 a month for MoviePass, but I was seeing so many movies. It still was a huge value thing for me. Like I was seeing that, I was making my money back in a week, let alone the month. But yeah, once these idiots came in and took over and totally bastardized the whole thing and turned it into a whole criminal enterprise, it really sucks. And I'm glad to see today it's back in the hands of the original creator, of the original guy behind it. And I hope great success for them. All right, what's next?
Logan follows up. Also, I still have my MoviePass card. It blows my mind that these old cards are running for $1,000 plus on eBay. That's a lot of tacos at Taco Bell.
Dude, I first found out about that on the MoviePass documentary. It's like somebody mentioned that they were seeing like for $1,000, $2,000. And I immediately, just like probably a lot of you guys did, I started rummaging through my old drawers and stuff like that, seeing if I still had my MoviePass card. I could not find mine. All right, what's next?
Double McShave says, I think a Lando movie should do something similar to the Scoundrels book from Star Wars Legends. It's basically Ocean's 11 Star Wars style. I think it would set a perfect tone for Lando.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds also like right in line with what Donald Glover said. He goes,
Yeah.
man, this war sucks, but I need money. Like, that sounds perfect for a Lando film. So I would be, yeah, something like that. An Ocean's 11 in Star Wars kind of thing with Lando. Sign me up. Sounds great. You know what else you could put in it? That character I really hate, but a lot of people love. What's the name of the guy again from Rebels who is the character in the Millennium Falcon ride at Disneyland? Hondo.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You could have a Hondo with Lando with an Ocean's 11 kind of thing. It could be something.
They
that would
literally
work.
just merged Lando and Han.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's right. This is Han.
Like, call him
this
Hondo.
is Lando, and this is Hondo.
Yeah, Hondo Civic.
Yeah.
Hondo.
Nice.
I don't have the Millennium Falcon anymore, but I have the Hondo Civic.
Millennium Civic.
It's reliable.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. Sam Fisher says, something I just thought of. What if the reviews for Agatha were held back because Aubrey Plaza is playing Amal Farouk, aka the Shadow King, reprising her role from Legion? They do have the rights back, and he's certainly magical enough to be.
No, they're definitely not doing that. They're definitely not doing that. But I mean, what I said before was, and again, I haven't seen the show. I know nothing. I'm just saying, like, what if Aubrey Plaza is playing the return, and she looks different now, of Scarlet Witch? She's manifesting in a different physical form. That would be pretty baller. I don't think they're doing that either. But no, they're not crossing over Legion with this. All right, what's next?
Bry Guy says, John, you missed the first question.
I didn't miss anything.
I didn't miss anything.
I didn't miss anything.
I probably did.
But we just read that.
All right, is that?
Oh, yeah, we got that, but we got members.
Okay, let's take a couple questions from our members.
King Daddy Goat says, hey, John and crew, hope y'all are having a great Tuesday. I saw the other day that we are getting Salem's Lot on Max October 3rd. I'm thankful it wasn't a write-off that we get to see it. It's is anyone else excited for this movie? Thanks, Bring on the Filthy.
I remember they showed us the preview for this movie 2, maybe 3 CinemaCons ago.
Yep. And it was great.
And we all thought it looked really freaky and stuff like that. And then it just kind of quietly went into the good night and we never heard back from it again. But apparently it is now getting released. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. All right, what's next?
Joel Checky says, Hans Zimmer, live in Boston last night, can confirm great show. Gladiator, Pirates, and Lion King pieces may have been my favorite, but it was all great. Original vocalists and musicians were with him, which was awesome.
I cannot wait for this show to come to LA. I think this is going to be so good. You know, it's funny. Ann and I went to a quartet concert, a string quartet concert of the lead violinist and 3 other strings players from Hans Zimmer's orchestra.
Oh, cool.
And she tours around with him when he does this. And so it was just the 4 piece of them doing, and it was awesome. It was great. I cannot wait to hear the full thing. All right, what's next?
CJ Rebirth says the first Bay Transformers movie is always going to be my favorite movie ever, Transformers movie ever, but T1 came very close in second to topping it. I love the cast score, humor, emotional moments. Well, it's like your list yesterday, especially Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron.
He was great as it. I mean, the first Michael Bay Transformers movie is the one that I like. I hated all the other Michael Bay Transformers ones. I think Bumblebee topped it. I think Bumblebee is better than the first Transformers movie. I personally think Transformers 1 tops them all. It's just, so good. But I'm glad you liked it as well, my friend. All right, what's next?
Let's see. We got Henry that says, I saw that on Rotten Tomatoes, Joker 2 score went up a little bit. It was originally 60%. It's up to 63. Hopefully it's just divided in the same way as the original and not a bad film.
Yeah, again, everybody needs to remember that the critic score on the first Joker isn't that high. It's also in the 60s. And that's why I've always said the second one will not make nearly as much money as the first. I think it'll be successful. I think it'll be a hit. But again, there were a lot of people who saw the first one that did not like it. I did. I loved it. But it's not going to be for everybody. And this one's coming in pretty close to where the first one was. All right, what's next?
We got Dow says, hey, John and crew, have either of you seen the 3-part documentary about the making of the music for Black Panther 2? A really great deep dive into the choices and thoughts that went into making of the film and a closer look on the process. Ludwig Göransson and Ryan Coogler are a dynamic force that I want to see more in the future.
I did, as a matter of fact. This was a while ago. This was out like a long time. As long as I'm thinking of the right thing, this isn't new. This came out a long time ago. Yeah, and I remember, like, even from the way they go through how they picked certain instruments and they would go out and find these like local guys who did certain like very unique sounds to the area, and they would bring them in to do stuff. It was actually really fascinating. I haven't even thought about it in forever. I'm glad you brought it up. All right, what's next?
Rob Buck says, hey crew, love that you like Transformers 1, John. I do have to ask though, before seeing this film, do you get the touch? Do you get the power?
All I'm going to say is that pay attention to some of the jokes in the movie. All I'm going to say, going to leave it at that. Just going to leave it at that. All right, what's next?
Welcome to actor there. And then we got, let's see, Joe, who says, hey, John and crew, hope your day is going great. I was wondering if you had seen the new Salem's Lot trailer. Can't wait to see this. What do you guys think? I haven't seen the trailer yet.
I mean, I saw like a 7-minute preview to it a couple of years ago, but again, I'm looking forward to it. I thought it looked good at the time. I was really surprised it's gotten the treatment that it has the last couple of years. They pulled its release plans and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
If any of you were on the fence when it played, Ray and I at the same time went absolutely not. So
absolutely not.
Heck no.
All right. Let's take a couple more. What's next?
Right. Dominic says, how much do you think the Max Harry Potter series hurts the chances of us getting a live action Harry Potter 9, 10, 11 sometime in the next 10 years or so?
I don't think it has any negative impact at all on it. Again, I don't know that there's really a chance we're going to get a Harry Potter 9, 10, 11 anyway. Yeah. If anything, them doing the live series may actually increase the chances of that happening by like elevating the profile again, but I don't think it would do anything to take away from its chances. All right, last question of the day. What's next?
All right, Ian Barth says, who has the better opening sequence, Deadpool 3 or Peacemaker?
Well, it's hard to compare
significantly longer
one from a movie to a television show.
No, you have to answer. You have to.
Well, okay, no, you can't. Here's the thing. Which one on its own is better? The Deadpool one. But I couldn't watch that every week. I couldn't watch it like as just an open for the movie. I think it's better than the open for Peacemaker. But the Peacemaker one is one I could watch week after week after week after week.
When it becomes so much more absurd each time you watch it.
Which one?
Like the Peacemaker one.
Yes.
Where you just keep being like, this is so weird. And then it just becomes like infectious. I don't know.
Because like
grows on
all
you like
the
a
characters,
spore.
like they bring all the characters in. It's like, oh, that's his asshole neighbor that gives him a hard time. Oh, that's Judo Master. Oh, like, so like they bring in all the characters the very first time. Like you don't know who they are. And as the show progresses, the opening sequence takes on new meaning because, oh, now I know who that character is. And now I know who that character is. Whereas the opening of Deadpool is really just Deadpool killing a lot of guys to a great musical number. So as a one shot, the Deadpool one is better. As one that you watch week after week after week after week, the Peacemaker one is better. I mean, one's to a movie and one's to a TV show. So, all right, let's do one more.
Okay.
Last one of the day.
Callum says, "Hey, John and crew, did you guys watch the David Chase and the Sopranos documentary? I found the behind-the-scenes element of it very interesting. Highly recommend." I know about it. I have not
I've
seen
never
it.
even heard of it, to be honest with
No.
you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love The Sopranos, so I'd be interested in something like that. But no, is this a new thing? Is this an older thing?
Somewhat within the past year, yeah.
Within the past year?
Yeah. It shows a lot of behind the scenes and the kind of like camaraderie between like the cast members and everything. Yeah, it's
that's
really
nice.
interesting though.
All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Guys, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you come back and join us again tomorrow. I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray
See
Ora,
you tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico,
See you guys.
Chris Carr.
It's National Voter Registration Day. Go register to vote.
Yes, everybody go out, and as long as you live in the U.S., go out and register to vote. Absolutely. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.